Hello, everyone. It's your girl, Karaleise. How's it going? Today, we're going to be continuing on our presentation interview that we started two videos ago. So, if you haven't watched that one, you need to watch part one. And this is where we set up the problem. This is a case where someone was going up for a business analyst interview and they had gone through all the prior interviews and they were given a case study, and this was the case study that they were given, and this is very important to set the stage for what we're going to present right now. So we talked about the problem in that video, and it's generally around the fact that they are trying to implement this new savings card and it needs to integrate with a third-party system. And we need to be able to create the BRD for that, and then the presentation to explain what's in the BRD. All right. And then in part two, we talked about the BRD itself. How do you actually write up the BRD? And the BRD has so much detail in there. And so we've walked through that in this video here. So again, go check that out. These are all foundation. This is laying the foundation for what we will be talking about in this video. All right. So now that you've done the BRD, the next step is to present it. Because in these interviews, you guys, they don't just want you to come in and know your thing and be able to answer questions in the interview. They want to test you. They want to see what you know. They want to see your analytical skills, because this is an analytical job. Business analyst is an analytical job. That's why it's called business analyst. So there's no exact science. You have to apply yourself, and they want to see how you apply yourself. They also want to see how you present. They want to see how you can structure your ideas to have a logical flow. And that is what they're looking for. So now that you've done the actual documentation and they wanted to come and present, here is how you would convert that BRD into a presentation that is at the right level of detail that they can follow. All right, let's talk about that right now. Okay, so here we go. We have the presentation. Let's say we call it prescription savings card and integration with Savings Co, which would be MedJam and Savings Co. Now, you know, the title doesn't really matter. You don't really have to worry about this too much, because you're going to get into most of the detail in a few minutes. So the first thing you want to do, you're going to talk about yourself. Remember, you are still in an interview, and the people in the room, the panelists in the room, they may not have been there throughout your whole interview process. So you want to make sure you reintroduce yourself, and for anybody who has not yet met you, that you actually tell them about yourself. So don't jump straight into the meat of the presentation. Gradually get there by starting off with yourself and working them through. So you talk about yourself, put a picture of yourself. This is another opportunity for you to brand yourself. You want to imprint your brand on them. Don't miss that opportunity. Okay, so put a nice professional picture, talk about yourself, put your name there, your education, maybe a work experience or two, or whatever else you think would be professionally pertinent to, talk about with the people you're going up for the interview for. And then you have another slide about your activities. So what do you do outside of work? Well, for example, for me, I talk about how I like to spend time with my daughter and my dog, and we're always outside, and how much I like sea animals. I like to go wherever there's an aquarium and look at all the different types of sea life. I like to be out on the water. I also like waterfalls, and I put a picture of me on an underground waterfall, enjoying that, right? So those are the things that would just bring a more personable approach to you. Like, you want to expose them to you outside of just your professionalism, so you can probably connect with somebody who also likes the things that you like, right? Or you can just show that you are, just a complete person, not just the part of you that comes to work every day. So you want to put a recap of the ask. And the ask is for you to write a BRD to bring the stakeholders together and to discuss how you would integrate Savings Co with MedJam, so that you can provide this as a sign up for the newsletter subscribers, and the participants who agree to have the savings card would be able to benefit by using their savings card when they fulfill their lower life prescription. That is the entirety of the ask. And there's a number of things that you're going to demonstrate throughout this presentation that will show how you've structured your ideas, that will show how you thought through strategically about the implications of the feature and try to uncover the risks and the limitations and come up with features that would make sense and how you could actually help it to be developed so that it could be successful. So you've been doing all of that and you're going to share with them right now all of the ways that you got to that end. So as an overview, you want to first start off with a general overview, right? You don't want to just jump into it, like I said. So you have a slide that says solution overview and you say something like this. So as the overview for what we're going to be building, we're going to create a savings card program which will help individuals get discounts when they fulfill their Laura Life prescription. We're only doing it for Laura Life right now, even though MedJam has other prescription medications. Anyone can get access to the card. There is no sign-up fee. There is no prerequisite. Just that you can sign up once you're a part of our newsletter mailing list already. And then MedJam will allow sign-up for the savings card online. So it's only an online feature and will integrate with our savings co-partner that will provide for us the savings card and the functionalities behind it. So this is the general overview of what we're going to be diving deeper into throughout the rest of this presentation. So what's the problem? The problem is that persons who use the Laura Life medication, they face a challenge where it's sometimes very expensive and they have to couple that with other prescriptions. So the totality of it is very expensive. So if there was a way that they could still use the pharmacies that's closest to them and be able to still fulfill that prescription at a lower cost, that would be definitely helpful and even more convenient. So what are we going to be offering exactly? So here are some details about the solution that I thought through. So you want to make sure you say things like thinking through. You want to call out how you're thinking, how you're analytical, right? So as you're going through your presentation, you're going to be calling out those words so that you bring that idea into the heads of the people who are listening to you, right? All right. So you'll say something like this. So MedJam will leverage our partnership with SavingsGo to provide a savings card that we will then be able to supply to those who sign up for that via the newsletter. So the savings card will allow the card holder to get discounts on Laura Life medications only for now. Maybe later on we can scale it and have other medications join into this program. SavingsGo has proprietary algorithm that they already have developed that will calculate the discount amount for us. So we don't have to worry about all that calculation. They already have that and they already can generate that for us, which is going to be beneficial. MedJam will charge a yearly subscription fee that will be shared with SavingsGo. So you don't have to pay anything to sign up front, but we have to have some benefit for offering this discount, right? So we have to get a kickback somewhere. And how we'll do that is to get this subscription fee paid from the participants. So the savings card will be sent via email. So when they go on to sign up for the newsletter, they have an option to sign up also for the savings card. And once they do that, then we will send them an email with the card that they could then use. Savings card will be accepted on any of the existing pharmaceutical network that SavingsGo already has set up. So SavingsGo have all of these pharmacies that are already on their network, working with them, so that they provide the convenience for those who take the savings card to be able to still use it at their regular pharmacies. So with the savings card integration, MedJam will also get some data back from SavingsGo, so we can know about how the card is being used and be able to make decisions around that based on that data. So that is a general overview of the details of the solution that we're about to present. So let's look at the workflow. I know it's hard to see, but sorry guys, I have a tendency to say we. Don't do that like I am doing right now. I have a tendency to say we, and I have to consciously not say that because I like to think of the group helping, right? I don't like to be just trying to make it look like it's just me in general, like in my job. But when you're in an interview, it's you. Okay, you did it. It's not a we, it's you, right? So even when you're talking about your stories, like what you did in your prior job, and when they ask you, tell me about a time when you did such and such, try to remember to talk about the specific contribution that you had. So I just wanted to point that out here. All right, back to our presentation and how we would flow through this. So you bring up your flow chart, right? Because you want to show them that you know how to put a flow diagram together. You want some graphical element to your presentation because you want to show them the gamut of tools that you have in your toolkit, and that you know which ones to pull out when. And this would be an appropriate place to pull one out. So you want to show them that you have the skill, right? So what you'd say is something like this. So here's our workflow diagram. And I know it's kind of hard to see, but what we would have here is the steps that would be taken to be able to use this savings card. So first we have where when we start the process, the participant completes the sign up form. And when they submit that, simultaneously in the background, the Savings API will call Savings and generate a savings card number. And then that number would go in to populate the card details, which will then be sent as a PDF file to the email address of the person who signed up. And so now they have a online version, a digital version of the savings card. Now, when the participant goes to the pharmacy and they use their savings card, then we could know if they've used it, right? If they haven't used it, then we can send a follow-up email because we know there is no value in having a card that you never use. We want them to use it. So if we've noticed that the data that comes back says that this person signed up, got the card, but never redeemed it, then we are going to try to encourage them to do that by sending them follow-up emails. If they do use it, then it goes to this process right here, which is the predefined process. And so at the pharmacy, they'll be able to provide that discount because they're already on the Savings Co network, right? So that's how they would realize benefit by actually getting that discount and finding use or finding the card most useful, and hopefully we'll use it again. And that will be the end of the flow. We also have a mock-up. So this is what the form would look like. Again, I apologize for it being so blurry, but the idea here is that they'll fill in their first name, their last name, the email address. They'll check the box for consent and they'll submit. That's all they have to do. And then we will, in the background, generate the cards for them, send it to their email, and all of that will be done automatically in the back end. Here's what the card would look like that they would get as a PDF. And it would, of course, have the number that's related to each individual participant. And here it says Visa, but it definitely would not be a debit card. It would say a savings card, and it would have Laura Life or MedJam logo on it. So stick a pin here. So for this presentation, I really didn't have the time to go mock up a card, but you get the idea, right? You'd show a mock-up that is relevant. You wouldn't show something like this because this says savings card and debit. This is not true. So you'd have to find a way to change this wording so that it makes sense for what we're trying to do. But I didn't have time. I know you guys will get it, all right? So you show your mock-ups basically is what I'm saying here. And you can mock up the emails too. You don't have to only mock up the image for the screens, but you can mock up the email and see what the wording could be, etc. All right. So now you want to move on to some more analytical things like your risk. You want to highlight risks and show mitigating strategies to combat those. So you move on to risks and you say something like, there are two main risks that I have been able to identify. And one is the potential for low adoption, which means that because you have to rely on the willingness of the person to actually subscribe, then you're likely to have low adoption because there is no other incentive. They don't know upfront if this is going to be beneficial to them. We can't tell them how much money they're going to be making, so they might be tempted not to even sign up unless there's some campaign that we can have to help to improve the adoption. The other risk is that there's a strong dependency on Savings Co. What if Savings Co goes under? What if they change their pricing? What if they have a different way of working with us? Then we are completely at their behest. So it's a little bit risky to have such a program 100% dependent on external third party. And then you want to talk about your limitations. So the primary limitation that we have here is that this savings card is only going to be used for lower life. And so other people who have other medication obviously can't benefit. But it's also, even though it's a limitation, it's also good because you have basically MVP. You're only dealing with one prescription, one product. And so you can really perfect it a little bit before you expand it to others. That way you don't end up duplicating mistakes across the board. So it's kind of a bittersweet thing where some customers will not be able to benefit from this program, but at the same time, you're going to make sure you cover all of the blind spots for the lower life. product. The other limitation is that participants can only claim the discount at the time of purchase. So purchasing the medication and then sending in the receipt to be reimbursed is not allowed. So if they don't have the card at the time when they're going to fulfill their prescription, then they're just not going to be able to reclaim that later. That's the limitation that we have right now. And it also goes back to MVP. It can get very complicated to try to manage the reimbursements and make sure you're not having any fraud. It's just a lot. And if we're going to release this out, we should just do the MVP, which would be not allowing them to reimburse after the fact. And then I want to talk a little bit about the assumptions. So we've had to make a couple of assumptions here, and I want to call those things out. So the first thing we assumed is that Savings Co already has a network of pharmacies that will accept the MedJam savings card. This may or may not be true, but we can clarify. And if we get a chance to speak with those folks over at Savings Co, we can make sure that this is indeed the case. And it would have to be the case in order for this to kind of work. There has to be some network that will enable the persons who participate with a savings card to be able to redeem it. If they are only restricted to just a few limited pharmacies, it might just reduce the adoption even further, which would be not a good thing for us. So Savings Co already has an algorithm to generate the savings card number. So we are going to receive the savings card number, which would also be on the card itself when we send the email out to the person who signed up. And we're just going to assume that Savings Co already have a way to generate unique ID card numbers, unique card numbers, to be able to put on the card and make sure it's only one number per participant. We're also assuming that Savings Co has an algorithm to calculate the rate of discount based on the prescription amount for Lower Life. So based on how much you're getting, then your discount might change. So we're going to assume that they're already calculating what that is. We also assume that pharmacy personnel can access the savings card in the pharmacy system to be able to see what this discount should be, because they have to, receive the payment. They got to know how much they should be receiving. So we're assuming that there is, within the pharmacy network, there's also a system in place to let them know how much discount they can give. Savings Co provides the details of the participants who use the savings card. So we're assuming this. The reason this would be great is that we could tell who is actually using it, who's redeeming it, which pharmacies are using it the most. All this very important detail to help us make decisions on how to improve the program. And we would depend on Savings Co to be able to send that over, because they would be the ones that would have that data. We're also assuming that Savings Co will manage the savings card, and MedJam will provide the customers and do the basic maintenance of the cards in the MedJam software. So because it's an integration, we have to have some kind of two-way communication between the two systems. But we agree that Savings Co will be the system of record for the savings card, but they would send us data, and we would be the system of record for the customers, for the participants, and Savings Co will be the system of record for the savings card data. But we have to talk to each other because the two kind of work together. So what we're saying here is the assumption is that Savings Co will send over some data to us. We will maintain the customer, so we don't have to give out all the customer personally identifiable information over to Savings Co. We just give them what they need, and we basically maintain the record for the customer, for the participant, so that we can handle maybe any calls that they have around their own personal identifiable information, and we can stay within compliance with the regulatory bodies. Savings card will only be digital. That's the other assumption, that we're not allowing them to be like printed and mailed out via regular mail. We could do that later, and I have it as one of the out of scope for now. But as an MVP, it's just going to be an online version and not a physical version at all. So those are the assumptions. That's what we had to assume to be able to move forward. So what have we actually come up with as the scope of how to build this? So our in scope has these things. So the creation of the sign up form will have to be be able to build that out for the savings card. The API integration to savings code to generate the savings card number and to give real-time updates of the card usage. We're going to have to do that. The generation of follow-up emails based on the card usage. So if you haven't used it, we follow up more often to try to get you to use it. We're going to have that as well in scope. Show simplified dashboard of adoption and sales support. So once we're getting the data back from Savings Go, we want to be able to make sense of it some kind of way that would help us know where to improve, where to focus our attention. And we want to do that with a simple dashboard. It doesn't have to be elaborate, right? Again, we're still sticking with the MVP, but we need something to help us to move forward. Then we're also going to be maintaining the savings card data. So again, the system of record for the savings card data would be Savings Go, and the system of record for the participants' data would be MedJam, but of course the API would help them to communicate between each other. And then we want to maintain an audit log for savings card updates because we have to, keep up with the regulation, and because we have to make sure we can, guard against fraud. We would want to have some kind of audit log. Something, it doesn't have to be elaborate. It's still MVP, but some kind of trace that we can go back and check and say, okay, what's going on here? We have something to go. And it's also a good practice to start logging things earlier when you're developing them than later, because if you start logging it later, then you'd have missed the earlier things and you have to go back and add those in as well. So when you're building a feature, it's just best practice if you need auditing to start at the beginning. That way you don't have to retrospectively try to figure out what you needed to code for, and that can get really messy really fast. So those are the things that's in scope. Now let's talk about what is out of scope. So for now, the out of scope is that we're not printing and mailing anything to the participants, so they're not going to get a physical card. And we're also not going to reimburse them if they did not use their savings card and they spent out of pocket. Well, that would be unfortunate for them because they can't claim it later on. Let's look at our requirements. We have some high-level requirements, which will filter down into detailed requirements. In general, these are the high-level requirements. The ability to sign up to the savings card program is definitely a must-have high-level requirement. The ability to send emails for welcome and follow-up. Ability to integrate the savings code for all the different things we're going to be needing from them and sending to them. The ability to generate savings card reports. The ability to update savings card data. So this is the high level of everything we're doing. And of course, each of these things can be huge, right? There's lots of details behind them. Pause here. So what am I doing here? What I'm doing is I want them by now, they should really have the confidence that I know what I'm talking about. Because I'm talking about how the whole system is coming together, and I'm showing that I have a good idea of how to break up a complex system into small, manageable chunks. This high-level requirements right here is taking everything we need to build and boiling them down to these bullet points. This takes a lot of mental energy, right? It takes a lot of mental energy to know what's the 5 things that comes out of this mess that they gave you, right? So they've already seen this at this point, and they have the BRD in their hand as well, which has all the details. So I don't see it being a good use of time to go into all the individual details again, but I do think that I need to give them a sampling of how I think through breaking down any one of these bullet points down into the detail that the technical team would need to be able to actually write code and build software, and the QA would know how to test. But this is what I'm saying. You need to be able to show them that you can think at these different levels. And so I wouldn't want to spend too much time on every detail. Now you could, but for the purposes of this video, I don't want to go into every single one because I've already gone through it in the previous video. So I'm just going to show you now an example of what you would start talking about after this slide. So here's the example of a detailed requirement. So you'd show, for example, in bold the title of the requirement, and this would be ability to sign up for savings card program, and it would have these details behind it. So when the newsletter is sent, the system must include an option to sign up for savings card. That's one requirement. The other one, when the user clicks on the option to sign up for savings card, the system will navigate to the sign up form, which will have the following fields: first name, last name, email address, terms, checkbox. and submit button. So the checkbox is that section that has the wording for you to agree to, and you'd explain to them that you'd put the screenshot here so that the developers can know what markup you are referring to, and they could see that in your BRD, which you already sent them. Here's another example, which is the requirement for ability to integrate with Savings Co. And the way you've written the titles of your requirements is just to sum up the details that's going to be below so that they can easily see what the requirement is about. So the system must be able to make an API call to Savings Co in order to pull the participant information real time. The information that will be pulled are participant first name, last name, email address, savings card number, participant status if they subscribe or if they decided to unsubscribe, the last use date, so when was the last time that they used the savings card, the pharmacy name the card was used at, the pharmacy number, if that exists, should be optional, the prescription amount, the original price of the prescription, the discounted price, and the discount amount. So with that information, you'll be able to, pull data together to make some decisions on how the card is being used. And those are the two examples of the detail requirements. Of course, there's much more in the Word document, and what you typically do is walk through all of those in a session with the technical team. But for the purposes of this interview, you just give me a sample with those two. So now you want to move on to your conclusion, right? And in your conclusion, you want to drive home the point that you have accomplished everything they ask you to accomplish, that you've been able to demonstrate everything, and you want to make your pitch because you're not here to have tea. You're not here to have fun. You're here to get this job. And you have to make it clear that you have demonstrated the skills that would make you qualify for the job. And you can make your pitch to say you want the job. Okay? So here we go. So in my conclusion, I've been able to demonstrate in this presentation how I've been able to define the problem, how I've been able to structure and flow through the document, been able to show you, my ideas from high level all the way down to detail. I've been able to demonstrate strategic thinking. I've been able to outline the critical features and requirements that was not given to me in the question, but been able to show you that I was thinking about them and been able to demonstrate how valuable they would be. I've also shown you my documentation skills with the BRD, and now I've been able to show you my presentation skills and also, of course, my analytical skills, my communication skills, all of these things I've been able to demonstrate, which I think makes me a very good candidate for this role. And I would like to say that I'm very happy to have been selected to come here and present for you guys, and I'm looking forward to working with you on such amazing projects. So without further ado, is there any questions? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you present for your business analyst interview. Okay. You want to be able to conclude that you are the person for the job, right? You put it in their brain. All right. And you've already convinced them every slide and every time you open your mouth, you're walking them through, they're following your thought pattern. You're helping them see that you should get this job. So you're doing the business analyst presentation that will help you get the job as a business analyst, right? So this business analyst presentation is going to be key for the panelists to see how you would think through and work in the real world. They want to do that because, again, guys, remember, there are many people going up for business analyst jobs right now because it's become a kind of a novel career that you can get into. It's high paying. You don't have to be technically savvy necessarily. So people are very attracted to it. It's a soft landing into tech. And you don't have to keep up with the constant changes in technology, but you can still work with technology teams. So it's a very lucrative job. And so people are becoming business analysts and they're doing business analyst interviews and they're getting the answers, right? But when they get the presentation to do the business analyst presentation, this is where they stumble because you have to demonstrate this ability to think because that's why they're paying you so much, right? This is why they're giving you this job because they want you to be able to apply your thinking. They want to be able to trust you to make the right decision given the situation. So when they give you a fairly complex and vague problem, they want to see how you uncover the things that they have not told you. Because in the real world, as a business analyst, you're going to be faced with challenges and you're going to have to make the right decision. You won't be by yourself sometimes. You're going to work with a team for sure. But you need to have that skill so you can do well in a team setting. So this is how you do the business analyst presentation, guys. I really hope this was useful for you. I hope you learned something. Go check out my video on other business analyst presentations. And also I have a course. Go check out my website, Karaleise.com, and go to premium courses. I have courses on how to do documentation, how to do workflow diagrams, all these different skills that you need as a BA. It's there and it's practical. This is not fluff, fluff, fluff. You ever go to a course or go through a course and you walk away like, I know I learned stuff. I learned things. I got a certificate, but I just don't know how to do the job with it. I just don't know how to actually do the job. Where do I start? And it frustrates you. And when you get your first job, you are a wreck. You are a bag of nerves because you have no idea where to start. You don't want to sound stupid when you ask questions. You don't want to look like you don't know anything and you're just completely wrecked. You don't know where to go. You're like, oh my God. And you stumble through it. So my courses help you to avoid that. My courses are practical. My courses are, this is exactly what you do when you get the situation. This is how to do the job. This is not how to learn the theory. This is how to actually do the job. So my encouragement to you is to go do the courses that you're doing already. They're going to teach you the high level, the basics. They're going to teach you the theory. And it's good to have that background. You're going to get a certificate in all these different things and you're going to feel like you've accomplished it from an education perspective, but you're going to be left wanting more as to how to apply it. When you get to the point where you're like, okay, I know I understand these things, but what do I do when I get the job? That's when you come to me. You go to my premium courses and it teaches you exactly how to do the job, right? Now, if you just want to skip and get to how to do the job, you're welcome as well. If you don't think you need the background, because my courses take you from zero anyway. I take you from zero, but I quickly move you through from zero to getting it done, right? So I encourage you to go to my website, Karaleise.com, and get some of that done. And please, guys, can you please subscribe? Okay, you watch all the video. You're at the end of the video. You've enjoyed everything I showed you, I hope. And just subscribe. It doesn't, it just helps me out. So I feel encouraged to keep doing that. Subscribe, like the video. If you have people who are studying, who are trying to learn, who are struggling, and they want to get the information, don't be mean. Share the video with them. Let them learn too. The more you share your knowledge, the better you become. There's no point in keeping it a secret and keeping it only for yourself. Share the video. Okay? Let the knowledge spread and you will get lots of blessings from God. All right. God bless you guys. I will talk to you later. Take care. Bye bye.